What's up, everyone? It's the Emerald Enthusiast, here with a review of the NECA Epic Marvel 1/4 scale figure of Daredevil. I got this figure at a discount because the packaging was in such poor shape. However, as you can see, this package does feature some attractive box art. The bottom front says Daredevil, the man without fear. You'll also notice that the packaging fittingly features phrases in Braille. There are numerous product shots along both sides of the packaging that showcase the figure's articulation. The box also features shots of the matte Murdoch head sculpt, as well as the various accessories that come with this figure. The back of the box also features this eye-popping action shot of Daredevil. Although the lower body is partially obscured by the packaging design, the upper body and the matte Murdoch head sculpt are clearly visible through the front window. And now let's bust open this package and see what's inside. Now let's look at the accessories, and the figure comes with 4 extra hands, and you can see this silver and gray paint that denotes battle damage on each of the gloves. And as you would expect, we get a pair of gripping hands to go along with the fists that are already on the figure. And we get this hand, which is perfect for gripping the mask, and I'll show you that later in the video. And each one of these is superbly detailed. You can see the battle damage on each one. And here we have an open hand. This is very dynamic. There are wrinkles sculpted into the palm, and you can see the dark wash that has been applied. These hands will certainly enhance your posing options. And here is the grappling hook. And this looks very realistic as well. You port one of the ends into one of the batons to utilize this accessory, and I'll be doing some poses with these various accessories at the end of the video. And then we get these 2 adapter pieces to make the batons into nunchucks, should you choose to do so. These are metal wires, and of course that is the shorter of the 2, and this is the longer version. And then we get this long piece that will allow you to create a staff and or Matt Murdoch's walking cane. Of course, you port this into one of the batons to make the bow staff. And here are the Eskrima sticks, aka the batons. These are a gunmetal gray with streaks along the sides to represent battle damage. Now let's have a look at the mask. And I really appreciate the sculpting on this. The wrinkles around the eyes, the seams along the sides. And we get battle damage on this as well. As you might expect, the horns are a little sharp, so be careful when you're handling this accessory, as well as the top of the head sculpt with the mask. And as I stated earlier, this particular gripping hand is designed to hold the mask, and it does that quite well, as you can see. Now let's have a look at the matte Murdoch head sculpt, and this is simply outstanding. It is so lifelike. There is scarring around the eyes, and I really appreciate that detail. And of course, the eyes are staring straight forward. Here's a look at the sculpting of the cheekbones. You can see the individual strands on the hair. The mouth is done very well. Here's a look at the part in the hair. And I really appreciate the shading on the skin. That's what makes this look so lifelike instead of just a plastic accessory. Let's have a look at the lower body. And here we see these shin guards. They're not separate pieces, but they do have plenty of detail on them. Likewise, the boots look very realistic. You can see the buckles and the tread on the bottom of the shoes. And as I spin this figure around, here are these sculpted buckles for yet another layer of realism. And the ankle joints feel very sturdy. Now let's have a look at the quadriceps, and you'll notice this dark wash that combines with these sculpted wrinkles to make this look like fabric covering the legs. And those details go all the way around to the back. There's plenty of sculpting back here on the hamstrings. Even though this is not fabric, it looks like fabric. And he comes equipped with this holster for the Eskrima sticks, aka the batons. I'd also like to note the paint application on the knees. Much like with the shin guards, NECA has used this silver paint to denote battle damage, and that is quite impressive. And here are the Eskrima sticks. And these slip down easily into the holster. Now let's have a look at the torso, and once again the dark wash has been applied to denote the muscular definition. I've seen some Daredevil fans say that the torso is a little too big because Matt Murdoch is not a jacked guy, he's a fit guy, but he's not usually this big in the comics. But I'm so impressed by the sculpting here that I really can't criticize this torso. Here's a close-up of the chest symbol, and if you've ever seen any of my Green Lantern reviews, you'll know that I talk often about my preference for sculpted symbols over symbols that are just paint. And this symbol is simply perfect. This is exactly what collectors want when it comes to a Daredevil figure, if you're collecting the comic version, that is. The D's have very defined edges, and the dark wash has been applied over them to make them seem like even though they're raised over the pectoral muscles, they are still part of the costume. Here's a shot from below for you to gauge the thickness of the chest symbol. And NECA has sculpted these in such a way that they ripple with the striations of the pectoral muscles. And that simply looks superb. Now let's have a look at the back of the figure. And this figure has a very impressive lat spread. And despite the size of the latissimus dorsi, NECA still managed to sculpt some wrinkles around the muscles to make them look realistic and as if they're covered by fabric. And you can see that here on the lower lumbar as well. Now let's have a look at the arms, and the detail on these is incredibly intricate. The dark red paint overlaid with the dark wash just looks stunning everywhere on this figure. Here's a closer shot, and you can see the definition on the biceps, the triceps, and the deltoids. And much like with the shin guards, the figure has these sculpted gauntlets with battle damage, and they are very eye-catching. Here's a close-up of one of the arms, so you can see the detail on the fist as well as the forearm gauntlet. This really looks like something that could be used in close quarters combat, both as a protective measure and offensively. Now let's have a look at the head sculpt, and I'm not sure what else collectors could want out of a comic-based Daredevil head sculpt. The jawline, the nose, and the brow look very lifelike. And as I mentioned with the accessory, we get the seams on this mask, which adds another layer of realism. And there's a look at the horns. And the ears are intricately sculpted as well. One other detail that I would like to point out is the finish on the eyes. These lenses are glossier than the mask. And since the lenses would be a different type of material than the mask, I really appreciate that detail. And even though I already talked about the Matt Murdoch head sculpt, here's a look at how it fits on the neck joint. The other head pops off without too much difficulty, and then you simply place this one on the body, and it moves with the same amount of articulation. In terms of articulation, the figure has a mid-foot hinge. The ankles move backward and forward, although the ankles on my figure are especially tight. That also applies somewhat to the knee joints. These are double jointed knees, but again, mine are especially tight, and I really don't want to force the joints on an older figure. In terms of the hip joints, I can get the figure to kick forward this much. Perhaps I could go a little further, but I don't want to force it. Now, the figure does have this flexible hip piece, and that certainly aids the articulation. And here's a look at the leg spread. As far as the upper body goes, there's rotation at the waist. The upper torso rocks backward and crunches forward, as you can see. The arms move quite well. I am impressed with the movement here. There are double jointed elbows. You can see those there. Rotation at the wrists. There's also bicep swiveling. The shoulder joints will allow you to lift the arms up from the torso this much. And it's also possible to do a 360 with both arms at the shoulder joints. The head looks easily from side to side. The up and down movement is a little limited, but there is an adequate amount of head tilting. If you enjoyed this review, please like and subscribe, and don't forget to check out the rest of my Marvel playlist. And I'll be back with more Daredevil content soon. But until we meet again, this has been the Emerald Enthusiast, and thanks for watching!